Chapter 3. 9 hours later, we're all still in the meeting. The huge mahogany table is strewn with photocopied draft contracts, financial reports, notepads covered in scribbles, polystyrene coffee cups, and Post-its. Takeout boxes from lunch are littering the floor. A secretary is distributing fresh copies of the draft agreement. Two of the lawyers from the opposition have got up from the table and are murmuring intently in the breakout room. Every meeting room has one of these, a little side area where you go for private conversations or when you feel like breaking something. The intensity of the afternoon has passed. It's like an ebb in the tide. Faces are flushed, tempers are still high, but no one's shouting anymore. The Fallons and Smithleaf people have gone. They reached agreement on various points at about 4 o'clock, shook hands, and sailed off in their shiny limos. Now, ow, fuck. Ouch. It's up to us, the lawyers, to work out what they said and what they actually meant. Parentheses, and if you think it's the same thing, you might as well give up law now. Close parentheses. And put it all into a draft contract in time for more negotiations, when they'll probably begin shouting some more. I rub my dry face and take a gulp of cappuccino before realizing I picked up the wrong cup. The stone-cold cup from 4 hours ago. Yuck, yuck. I can't exactly spit it out all over the table. I swallow the revolting mouthful with an inward shudder. The fluorescent lights are flickering in my eyes and I feel drained. My role in all of these mega deals is on the finance side, so it was me who negotiated the loan agreement between Fallon's and PG&I Bank. It was me who rescued the situation when a 10 million pound black hole of debt turned up in a subsidiary company. And it was me who spent about 3 hours this afternoon arguing one single stupid term in the contract. The term was best endeavors. The other side wanted to use reasonable efforts. In the end, we won the point, but I can't feel my usual triumph. All I know is it's 7:19 and in 11 minutes I'm supposed to be halfway across town, sitting down to dinner at Maxim's with my mother and brother Daniel. I'll have to cancel my own birthday dinner. Even as I think the thought, I can hear the outraged voice of Freya ringing in my mind. They can't make you stay at work on your birthday. I canceled on her too last week when we were supposed to be going to a comedy club. The company's sell-off was due to complete the next morning and I didn't have any choice. What she doesn't understand is the deadline comes first. End of story. Prior engagements don't count. Birthdays don't count. Vacations are canceled every week. Across the table from me is Clive Sutherland from the corporate department. His wife had twins this morning and he was back at the table by lunchtime. All right, people. Ketterman's voice commands immediate attention. Ketterman is the only one here who isn't red-faced or weary-looking or even jaded. He looks as machine-like as ever, as polished as he did this morning. When he gets angry, he just exudes a silent, steely fury. We have to adjourn. What? My head pops up. Other heads have popped up too. I can detect the hope around the table. We're like school kids sensing a disturbance during the math test, not daring to move in case we land at double detention. Until we have the due diligence documentation from Fallon's, we can't proceed. I'll see you all tomorrow here at 9 a.m. He sweeps out, and as the door closes, I exhale. I was holding my breath, I realize. Clive has already bolted for the door. People are on their mobile phones all over the room discussing dinner, films, on canceling previous arrangements. There's a joyful lift to the proceedings. I have a sudden urge to yell, "Yay!" But that wouldn't be partner-like. I gather up my papers, stuff them into my briefcase, and push back my chair. Samantha, I forgot. Guy is making his way across the room. I have something for you. As he hands me a simple white package, I feel a ridiculous rush of joy. A birthday present. He's the only one in the whole company who remembered my birthday. I can't help glowing as I undo the cardboard envelope. Guy, you really shouldn't have. It's no trouble, he says, clearly satisfied with himself. Still, I laugh. I thought you'd... I break off abruptly as I uncover a corporate DVD in a laminated case. It's a summary of the European Partners presentation we had the other day. I mentioned that I'd like a copy. I turn it over in my hands, making sure my smile is completely intact before I look up. Of course he didn't remember my birthday. Why would he? He probably never even knew it. That's great, I say at last. Thanks. No problem. He's picking up his briefcase. Have a good evening. Anything planned? I can't tell him it's my birthday. He'll think. He'll realize. Just a family thing, I smile. See you tomorrow. The main thing is I'm going to make dinner after all, and I won't even be late. Last time I had dinner with Mom, about 3 months ago now, I was an hour late after my plane from Amsterdam was delayed. Then she had to take a conference call halfway through the main course. It wasn't exactly a success. As my taxi edges through the traffic on Cheapside, I quickly rifle in my bag for my new makeup case. I nipped into Selfridges in my lunch hour the other day when I realized I was still using the old gray eyeliner and mascara I bought for a Law Society dinner a year ago. I didn't have time for a demonstration, but I asked the girl at the counter if she could just quickly sell me everything she thought I should have. I didn't really listen as she explained each item because I was on the phone to Eldridge about the Ukrainian contract. But the one thing I do remember is her insistence I should use something called bronzer powder. She said it might give me a glow and stop me looking so dreadfully. Then she stopped herself. Pale, she said at last. You're just a bit pale. I take out the compact and huge blusher brush and start sweeping the powder onto my cheeks and forehead. Then, as I peer at my reflection in the mirror, I stifle a laugh. My face stares back at me, freakishly golden and shiny. I look ridiculous. I mean, who am I kidding? A city lawyer who hasn't been on holiday for 2 years doesn't have a tan. I might as well walk in with beads in my hair and pretend I've just flown in from Barbados. I look at myself for a few more seconds and take out a cleansing wipe and scrub the bronzer off until my face is white again, with shades of gray. Back to normal. The makeup girl kept mentioning the dark shadows under my eyes too, and there they are. Thing is, if I didn't have shadows under my eyes, I'd probably get fired. I'm wearing a black suit, as I always do. My mother gave me 5 almost identical black suits for my 21st birthday, and I've never really broken the habit. The only item of color about me is my bag, which is red. Mom gave that to me as well 2 years ago. At least, she gave me a black one originally, but on the way home I saw it in a shop window in red, had a total brainstorm, and exchanged it. I'm not convinced she's ever forgiven me. I free my hair from its elastic band, quickly comb it out, and then twist it back into place. My hair has never exactly been my pride and joy. It's mouse color, medium length, with a medium wave. At least it was last time I looked. Most of the time it lives screwed up into a knot. Nice evening planned, says the taxi driver who's been watching me in his mirror. It's my birthday, actually. Happy birthday. He eyes me in the mirror. He'll be partying then, making a night of it. Kind of. My family and wild parties don't exactly go together, but even so, it'll be nice for us to see one another and catch up. It doesn't happen very often. It's not that we don't want to see one another, we just all have very busy careers. There's my mother, who's a barrister. Side note, I believe a barrister, that's what they call judges in England. End of side note. She's quite well known, in fact. She started her own side note, this book takes place in England. Anyway, end of side note. She started her own chambers 10 years ago, and last year she won an award for women in law. And then there's my brother Daniel, who is 36 and head of investment at Witten's. He was named by Money Management Weekly last year as one of the top deal makers in the city. There's also my other brother, Peter, but like I said, he had a bit of a breakdown. He lives in France now and teaches English at a local school and doesn't even have an answering machine. And my dad, of course, who lives in South Africa with his third wife. I haven't seen much of him since I was 3, but I've made my peace about this. My mother's got enough energy for 2 parents. I glance at my watch as we speed along the Strand. 7:42. I'm starting to feel quite excited. The street outside is still bright and warm, and tourists are walking along in t-shirts and shorts, pointing at the High Court. It must have been a gorgeous summer's day. Inside the air-conditioned Carter Spink building, you have no idea what the weather in the real world is doing. We come to a halt outside Maxim's, and I pay the taxi driver, adding a large tip. "Have a great evening, love," he says, "and happy birthday." Thanks. As I hurry into the restaurant, I'm looking all around for Mom or Daniel, but I can't spot either of them. "Hi," I say to maitre d', "I'm meeting Ms. Tennyson." That's Mom. She disapproves of women taking the name of their husband. She also disapproves of women staying at home, cooking, cleaning, or learning to type, and thinks all women should earn more than their husbands because they're naturally brighter. The maitre d', a dapper man who is a good 6 inches shorter than me, leads me to an empty table in the corner, and I slide into the suede banquet. "Hi," I smile at the waiter who approaches. "I'd like a Bucks Fizz, a gimlet, and a martini, please. But don't bring them over until the other guests arrive." Mom always drinks gimlets, and I have no idea what Daniel's on these days, but he won't say no to a martini. The waiter nods and disappears, and I shake out my napkin, looking all around at the other diners. Maxim's is a pretty cool restaurant, all wenge floors and steel tables and mood lighting. It's very popular with lawyers. In fact, Mom has an account here. 2 partners from Linklaters are at a distant table, and I can see one of the biggest libel lawyers in London at the bar. The noise of chatter, corks popping, and forks against oversized plates is like the huge roar of the sea, with occasional tidal waves of laughter making heads turn. As I scan the menu, I suddenly feel ravenous. I haven't had a proper meal for a week, and it all looks so good. Glazed foie gras, lamb on minted hummus, and on the specials board is chocolate orange souffle with 2 homemade sorbets. I just hope Mom can stay long enough for pudding. I've heard her say plenty of times that half a dinner party is enough for anybody. The trouble is, she's not really interested in food. She's also not that interested in most people, as they're generally less intelligent than her, which rules out most potential dinner guests. But Daniel will stay. Once my brother starts on a bottle of wine, he feels obliged to see it through to the end. "Miss Sweeting?" I look up to see the maitre d'. He's holding a mobile phone. I have a message. Your mother has been held up at her chambers. Oh, I try to hide my disappointment, but I can hardly complain. I've done the same thing to her enough times. "So, what time will she be here?" I think I see a flash of pity in his eyes. "I have her here on the telephone. Her secretary will put her through." "Hello," he says into the phone. "I have Miss Tennyson's daughter." "Samantha?" comes the crisp, precise voice in my ear. "Darling, I can't come tonight, I'm afraid." "You can't come at all?" My smile falters. "Not even for a drink?" Her chambers is only 5 minutes away in a cab in Lincoln's Inn Fields. Far too much on. I have a very big case on, and I'm in court tomorrow. "Now, get me the other file," she adds to someone in her office. "These things happen," she resumes, "but have a nice evening with Daniel. Oh, and happy birthday. I wired £300 to your bank account." "Oh, right," I say, "thanks." "I assume you haven't heard about the partnership yet." "Not yet." "I heard your presentation went well." I can hear her tapping her pen on the phone. "How many hours have you put in this month?" Probably about 200. "Is that enough?" "Samantha, you don't want to be passed over. You've been working toward this for a long time." Like I don't know that. Still, I suppose I should be glad she's not badgering me about whether I've got a boyfriend. Mom never asks me about my personal life. She expects me to be as focused and driven as she is, if not more so. And even though we don't talk very often anymore, even though she's less controlling than she was when I was younger, I still feel apprehensive whenever she rings. "There will be younger lawyers coming up behind," she continues. "Someone in your position could easily go stale." 200 hours is quite a lot, I try to explain, compared to the others. "You have to be better than the others." Her voice cuts across mine as though she's in a courtroom. "You can't afford for your performance to slip below excellent. This is a crucial time." "Not that file," she adds impatiently to whoever it is. "Hold the line, Samantha." "Samantha?" I look up in confusion from the phone to see a girl with long, swishy blonde hair, wearing a powder blue suit, approaching the table. She's holding a gift basket adorned with a bow and has a wide smile. "I'm Lorraine, Daniel's PA," she says in a sing-song voice I suddenly recognize from calling Daniel's office. "He couldn't make it tonight, I'm afraid, but I've got a little something for you. Plus, he's here on the phone to say hello." She holds out a lit-up mobile phone. In total confusion, I take it and press it to my other ear. "Hi, Samantha," comes Daniel's business-like drawl. "Look, babe, I'm snowed under. I can't be there." Neither of them is coming. "I'm really sorry," Daniel's saying, one of those things, "but have a great time with Mom, won't you?" I take a deep breath. I can't admit she blew me off, too. I can't admit that I'm sitting here all on my own. "Okay," somehow I muster a breezy tone, "we will. I've transferred some money to your account. Buy something nice. And I've sent some chocolates along with Lorraine," he adds proudly. "Picked them out myself." I look at the gift basket Lorraine is proffering. It isn't chocolates, it's soap. "That's really lovely, Daniel," I manage. "Thanks very much." "Happy birthday to you." There's sudden chorusing behind me. I swivel around to see a waiter carrying over a cocktail glass with a sparkler. "Happy birthday, Samantha" is written in caramel on the steel tray, next to a miniature souvenir menu signed by the chef. 3 waiters are following behind, all singing in harmony. After a moment, Lorraine awkwardly joins in. "Happy birthday to you." The waiter puts the tray down in front of me, but my hands are full with phones. "I'll take that for you," says Lorraine, relieving me of Daniel's phone. She lifts it to her ear, then beams at me. "He's singing," she says, pointing to the receiver, encouragingly. "Samantha," Mom is saying in my ear, "are you still there?" They're singing happy birthday." I put the phone on the table. After a moment's thought, Lorraine puts the other phone carefully down on the other side of me. "This is my family birthday party. 2 cell phones." I can see people looking over at the singing, their smiles falling a little as they see I'm sitting on my own. I can see the sympathy in the faces of the waiters. I'm trying to keep my chin up, but my cheeks are burning with embarrassment. Suddenly, the waiter I ordered from earlier appears at the table. He's carrying 3 cocktails on a tray and looks at the empty table in slight confusion. "Who is the martini for?" "It was supposed to be for my brother." "That would be the Nokia," says Lorraine helpfully, pointing at the mobile phone. There's a pause. Then, with a blank, professional face, the waiter sets the drink down in front of the phone, together with a cocktail napkin. I want to laugh, except there's a stinging at the back of my eyes. He places the other cocktails on the table, nods at me, then retreats. There's an awkward pause. "So, anyway," Lorraine retrieves Daniel's mobile phone and pops it into her bag. "Happy birthday and have a lovely evening." As she tip-taps her way out of the restaurant, I pick up the other phone to say goodbye, but Mom's already rung off. The singing waiters have melted away. It's just me and a basket of soap. "Did you wish to order?" The maitre d' has reappeared at my chair. "I can recommend the risotto," he says in kind tones. "Some nice salad, perhaps, and a glass of wine?" "Actually," I forced myself to smile. "Just get the bill, thanks." It doesn't matter. We were never all going to make a dinner. We shouldn't even have tried to set the date. We're all busy. We all have careers. It's just the way my family is. As I stand outside the restaurant, a taxi pulls up right in front of me, and I quickly stick my hand out. The rear door opens, and a tatty beaded flip-flop emerges, followed by a pair of cut-off jeans, an embroidered caftan, familiar tousled blonde hair. "Stay here," she's instructing the taxi driver. "I can only be 5 minutes." "Freya?" I say in disbelief. She wheels around and her eyes widen. "Samantha, what are you doing on the pavement?" "What are you doing here?" I counter. "I thought you were going to India." "I'm on my way. I'm meeting Lord at the airport in about," she looks at her watch, 10 minutes. She pulls a guilty face, and I can't help laughing. I've known Freya since we were both 7 years old and in boarding school together. On the first night, she told me her family were circus performers and she knew how to ride an elephant and walk the tightrope. For a whole term, I believed her stories about the exotic circus life. until her parents arrived that first Christmas to pick her up and turned out to be a pair of accountants from Staines. Even then, she was unabashed and said she'd lied to cover up the real truth, which was that they were spies. She's taller than me, with bright blue eyes and freckled skin, permanently tan from her travels. Right now, her skin is peeling slightly on her nose, and she has a new silver earring right at the top of her ear. She has the whitest, most crooked teeth I've ever seen, and when she laughs, one corner of her top lip rises. I'm here to gatecrash her birthday dinner. Freya focuses on the restaurant in suspicion, but I thought I was late. What happened? Well, I hesitate. The thing was, Mum and Daniel left early. As she peers at me, Freya's expression changes to one of horror. Didn't turn up? Jesus Christ, the bastards! Couldn't they just for once put you first instead of their frigging... She stops her tirade. She knows I've heard it all before. Sorry, I know. They're your family. Whatever. Freya and my mom don't exactly get on. It doesn't matter, I say, shrugging ruefully. Really, I've got a pile of work to get through anyway. Work? Freya looks appalled. Now? Are you serious? Doesn't it ever stop? We're busy at the moment. It's just a blip. There's always a blip. There's always a crisis. Every year you put off doing anything fun. That's not true. Every year you tell me work will get better soon. But it never does. Her eyes are filled with concern. Samantha, what happened to your life? I'm silent for a moment, cars roaring along behind me on the street. To be honest, I can't remember what my life used to be like. As I cast my mind back over the years, I recall the holiday I had with Freya in Italy, the summer after A-levels, when we were both 18. My last window of real freedom. Since then, work has gradually, almost imperceptibly taken over. I want to be a partner of Carter Spink. I say at last, that's what I want. You have to make sacrifices. And what happens when you make partner? She persists. Does it get easier? The truth is I haven't thought beyond making partner. It's like a dream, like a shiny ball in the sky. You're 29 years old, for Christ's sake. Freya gestures with a bony, silver-ringed hand. You should be able to do something spontaneous once in a while. You should be seeing the world. She grabs my arm. Samantha, come to India, now. Do what? I give a startled laugh. I can't come to India. Take a month off. Why not? They're not going to fire you. Come to the airport. We'll get you a ticket. Freya, you're crazy. Seriously? I squeeze her arm. I love you, but you're crazy. Slowly, Freya's grip on my arm loosens. Same, she says. You're crazy, but I love you. Her mobile phone starts ringing, but she ignores it. Instead, she rummages in her embroidered bag. At last, she produces a tiny, intricately worked silver perfume bottle haphazardly wrapped in a piece of purple shot silk, which is already falling off. Here, she thrusts it at me. Freya, I turn it over in my fingers. It's amazing. I thought you'd like it. She pulls her mobile out of her pocket. Hi, she says impatiently into it. Look, Lord, I'll be there, okay? Freya's husband's full name is Lord Andrew Edgerly. Freya's nickname for him started as a joke and stuck. They met 5 years ago on a kibbutz and got married in Las Vegas. He's tall and phlegmatic and keeps Freya on track during her wilder moments. He's also amazingly witty once you get past the deadpan exterior. Technically, their marriage makes her Lady Edgerly, but her family can't quite get their heads around this idea, nor can the Edgerlys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for this, I hug her. Have a fabulous time in India. We will. Freya is climbing back into her taxi. And if you want to come out, just let me know. Invent a family emergency, anything. Give them my number. I'll cover for you. Whatever your story is. Go, I say laughing and give her a little push. Go to India. The door slams and she sticks her head out the window. Sam, good luck for tomorrow. She seizes my hand, suddenly serious. If it's really what you want, then I hope you get it. It's what I want more than anything else. As I look at my oldest friend, all my calculated nonchalance disappears. Freya, I can't tell you how much I want it. You'll get it. I know you will. She kisses my hand, then waves goodbye. And don't go back to the office. Promise. She shouts over the roar of her taxi. Okay, I promise, I yell back. I wait until her cab has disappeared, then stick my hand out for another. Carter, Spink, please, I say as it pulls up. I was crossing my fingers. Of course I'm going back to the office. I arrive home at 11 o'clock, exhausted and brain dead, having got through only about half of Ketterman's file. Bloody Ketterman, I'm thinking, as I push open the main front door of the 1930s mansion block where I live. Bloody Ketterman. Bloody. Good evening, Samantha. I nearly jump a mile. It's Ketterman, right there, standing in front of the lifts, holding a bulging briefcase. For an instant, I'm transfixed in horror. What's he doing here? Someone told me you lived here. His eyes glint through his spectacles. I bought number 32 as a pied-à-terre. We'll be neighbors during the week. Please tell me this is not happening. He lives here. Welcome to the building, I say, trying as hard as I can to sound like I mean it. The lift door is open and we both get in. Number 32. That means he's only 2 floors above me. I feel like my headmaster has moved in. Why'd I have to choose this building? The elevator rises in silence. I feel more and more uncomfortable. Should I attempt small talk, some light neighborly chit-chat? I made some headway on that file you gave me, I say at last. Good, he says curtly, and nods. So much for the small talk. I should just cut to the big stuff. Am I going to become a partner tomorrow? Well, good night, I say awkwardly as I leave the lift. Good night, Samantha. The lift doors close and I emit a silent scream. I cannot live in the same building as Ketterman. I'm going to have to move. I'm about to put my key in the lock when the door to the opposite flat opens a crack. Samantha? As if I haven't had enough this evening, it's Mrs. Farley, my neighbor. She has silver hair and gold-rimmed spectacles and an insatiable interest in my life. But she is very kind and takes in parcels for me, so I try to tolerate her intrusiveness. Another delivery arrived for you, dear, she says. Try cleaning this time. I'll just fetch it for you. Thanks, I say gratefully, swinging my door open. A small pile of junk leaflets is sitting on the doormat, and I sweep them aside, onto the bigger pile, building up at the side of my hallway. I'm planning to recycle them when I get a moment. It's on my list. You're late home again. Mrs. Farley is at my side, holding a pile of polythene-covered shirts. You girls are so busy. She clicks her tongue. You haven't been home before 11 this week. This is what I mean by an insatiable interest. She probably has all my details logged somewhere in a little book. Thanks very much. I reach for my dry cleaning, but to my horror, Mrs. Farley pushes past me into the flat, exclaiming, I'll carry it in for you. Excuse the, mess, I say, as she squeezes past a pile of pictures propped against the wall. I keep meaning to put those up. I steer her hastily into the kitchen, away from the pile of takeaway menus on the hall table. Then I wish I hadn't. On the kitchen counter is a stack of old tins and packets, together with a note from my new cleaner, all in capitals. Dear Samantha, 1. All your food is past its sell-by dates. Should I throw away? 2. Do you have any cleaning materials, e.g. bleach? Could not find any. 3. Are you collecting Chinese food cartons for any reason? Did not throw them away, just in case. Your cleaner, Joanne. I can see Mrs. Farley reading the note. I can practically hear the clucking going on in her head. Last month she gave me a little lecture on did I have a slow cooker, because all you needed to do was put in your chicken and vegetables in the morning, and it didn't take 5 minutes to slice a carrot, did it? I really wouldn't know. So, thanks. I hastily take the dry cleaning for Mrs. Farley and dump it on the hob, then usher her out to the door, aware of her swiveling, inquisitive eyes. It's really kind of you. It's no trouble, not wishing to interfere, dear, but, you could wash your cotton blouses very well at home and save on all that money. I look at her blankly. If I did that, I'd have to dry them and iron them. And I did just happen to notice that one of them came back missing a button. She adds the pink and white stripe. Oh, right, I say. Well, that's okay. I'll send it back. They won't charge. You can pop a button on yourself, dear. Mrs. Farley is shocked. It won't take you 2 minutes. You must have a spare button in your work box. My what? I don't have a work box. I explain as politely as I can. I don't really do sewing. You can sew a simple button on, surely, she exclaims. No, I say, a bit rankled at her expression, but it's no problem. I'll send it back to the dry cleaners. Mrs. Farley is appalled. You can't sew a button on? Your mother never taught you? I stifle a laugh at the thought of my mother sewing on a button. No, she didn't. In my day, says Mrs. Farley, shaking her head. All well-educated girls were taught how to sew on a button, darn a sock, and turn a collar. None of this means anything to me. Turn a collar? It's gibberish. Well, in my day, we weren't, I replied politely. We were taught to study for our exams and get a career worth having. We were taught to have opinions. We were taught to use our brains. I can't resist adding. Mrs. Farley doesn't seem impressed. It's a shame, she says at last, and pats me sympathetically. I'm trying to keep my temper, but I've worked for hours. I've had a non-existent birthday. I feel bone-tired and hungry. Ketterman is living 2 floors above me, and now this old woman's telling me how to sew on a button. It's not a shame, I say tightly. All right, dear, says Mrs. Farley in pacifying tones and heads across the hallway to her flat. Somehow this goads me even more. How is it a shame? I demand, stepping out of my doorway. How? Okay, maybe I can't sew on a button, but I can restructure a corporate finance agreement and save my client 30 million pounds. That's what I can do. Mrs. Farley regards me from her doorway. It's a shame, she repeats as though she didn't even hear me. Good night, dear. She closes the door and I emit a squeal of exasperation. Did you never hear of feminism? I cry at her door. But there's no answer. Crossly, I retreat into my own flat, close the door, and pick up the phone. I speed dial the local wood-fired pizza company and order my usual, a capricciosa and a bag of kettle chips. I pour myself a glass of wine out of the fridge, then head back into the sitting room and flick on the telly. A work box. What else does she think I should have? A pair of knitting needles? A loom? I sink down onto the sofa with the remote and flick through the TV channels, peering vaguely at the images. News, a French film, some animal documentary. Hang on. I stop flicking, drop the remote onto the sofa, and settle back on the cushions. The Waltons. On some obscure syndicated channel, I have not seen the Waltons for years. Ultimate comfort viewing, just what I need. On the screen, the whole family's gathered around the table, Grandma saying grace. I take a swig of wine and feel myself start to unwind. I've always secretly loved the Waltons ever since I was a kid. I used to sit in the darkness when everyone else was out and pretend I lived on Walton's Mountain too. And now it's the last scene of all, the one I always waited for. The Walton house in darkness, lights twinkling, crickets chirping, John Boy talking in a voiceover, a whole huge house full of people who love one another. I hug my knees and look wistfully at the screen as the familiar music tinkles to its close. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, Grandma, I reply aloud. It's not like there's anyone to hear. Night, Mary Ellen. Good night, John Boy, I say in unison with Mary Ellen. Good night. Night. Night.